You're now rocking with the West Side.
What it good do? What's good? This is Set in the West. You're on the set. This is Wolfgang Amadeus. And, man, let me just get right to this. Because this isn't about hip hop. This is about how two of the most influential figures in black culture, hip hop culture, Jay-Z and Big U, may be quietly contributing to the very cycle they claim to break. I'm going to start off with something that I don't even know why the rest of the media isn't really covering. I found some explosive findings behind the Roc Nation School at LIU Brooklyn, where students were promised full scholarships only to be hit with cost, financial aid, and misleading marketing. Now, was it marketing, or was it empowerment, or was it exploitation? So, this is according to the LaVoiceInNewYork.com. It's an article that La Voice di New York. So it's Italian. It's an Italian daily digital paper, and this is what they say. They say Jay-Z, the LIU Brooklyn College, full scholarships came with a price, literally. The school says the promised tuition award fell short, leaving them with thousands of unexpected costs. So it began as a dream. What began as a dream, an education at Jay-Z's Roc Nation School of Music, Sports, and Entertainment, has turned into a financial strain for some of its earliest students, who now say the program's marquee scholarship came with a costly surprises. Just as enticing as the financial prospects were, and the promises that students enrolled in the program would get to meet and perhaps work with Rihanna, the Jonas Brothers, and they said that never materialized. In 2020, LIU and Roc Nation announced a creation of the Hope Scholarship, a promise of full tuition for 25% of its incoming and newly launched school in Brooklyn. The announcement, made with fanfare and widespread media attention, was interpreted by many as life-changing opportunity, particularly for students from underserved communities. But 4 years later, Gothamist reported, several recipients say they were blindsided by out-of-pocket expenses and inconsistent scholarship renewals. Despite the public branding of a full ride scholarship, students have found themselves on the hook for thousands of dollars in housing fees and unanticipated tuition caps. Malaya Wilkerson, one of the inaugural Hope Scholars, moved from California to Brooklyn with the understanding that her tuition would be entirely covered. Her financial aid letter initially reflected the scholarship, but just before the fall of 2021 semester began, she received an unexpected bill for over $12,000 in housing. Her appeals to the LIU admin were unanswered by sophomore year. She was working 3 jobs to stay enrolled. She said she felt misled, and they were advertising one thing and delivered another. Wilkinson experienced wasn't not isolated. The language used in the initial announcement for the Hope Scholarship promised a full tuition for one of the 4 students, but in practice, the financial aid package have varied widely. Some students received aid only for their first year. Others saw their awards reduced without warning. Adding to the confusion was Roc Nation's high-profile involvement, and many students say they believed Jay-Z's company was directly funding their scholarships, but a spokesperson for Roc Nation said the company does not administer financial aid and declined to say whether it was contributed financially to the program. And LIU, for its part, maintained that the students were clearly informed about the terms of their award. In a statement, the university said all Hope scholarship recipients were notified during the duration and the amount of aid they would receive. Now, I did not respond to detailed questions about some of the awards and why they were changed midstream, but the Roc Nation School launched. They had a leverage. They were leveraging Jay-Z's name, and they included appearances by Sweetie and producer Ninth Wonder. They were using that to attract the students. Many enrolled believing they were joining an elite industry-connected program with financial support to match. Instead, some are now facing mounting debt or have left the university altogether. At least one student who began as a Hope Scholar said she dropped out after losing her aid and being unable to cover the shortfall. Wilkerson, now a junior, says she is proud of what she's accomplished at the school, but she wishes the institution had been more transparent. It shouldn't be this hard to stay in a program that supposed to support you, she said. This is very unfortunate. This is why I hear Jag saying cruelty-free. Not only cruelty-free artistry, it's cruelty-free education. Come on, Jay-Z, if you were behind this is crazy, man. I feel bad for the people. And Murad was talking about there were other students who were vocal about it, and one student actually became homeless or was homeless, was living in a shelter, and got with this program and just was like fed a bunch of just it's just unfortunate, man. This is sad. This is very sad. You're taking advantage of hopeful, young, aspirational businessmen, artists, etc. And then they're gonna lure them in with like, yeah, you're gonna get Sweetie. It reminds me of Adam 22's how he get these SoundCloud rappers and on his show, and he would make them pay. Allegedly. Let me just say that. Allegedly. Because I've heard some things. Yeah, this is bad. This is bad. If Jay ain't saying nothing, this is bad. I think this is what... Come on, Jay. It's a lot that's going on, man. And, this is just, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. Also, I'm tying in Jay to bring in you. Not you, but Big U. Because I'm going to say some stuff about Big U and everything that's going on with him. The situation that happened with Jay, and I said, there's a school to prison pipeline. There's this scholarship to RICO. So getting these kids in debt is kind of cold, man. It's like I said, you got to be just in all your doings, bro. And I'm not here to tell anybody how to do whatever with their business, but I'll say it like this: karma ain't a bee. Karma is a sweet young lady. Now, if the stories are true about what Jay-Z rapped about him selling drugs and D-rugs to the community, and you think you're gonna like get on some entrepreneurship and kind of wash your name with some righteous duty, and it turns out this is what it ends up, man, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. You see how God works. You probably destroyed a lot of families selling dope, and now you're doing it with the scholarship program. Shame on you. You're wrong, Jay-Z. Now, Big U, I'm going to say this, because I'm looking at this article that KTLA wrote about him. Hip-hop exec faces RICO charges for allegedly running a gang. This came out some time ago. But I have some updates because, of course, I don't go to the news. I go to ninjas.com. I go to the streets and I get information. I grew up in that area, so I know a lot of people, and they'll tell me stuff, and I'm not going to say any names. I'm just going to say the situation about Big U. Now, we all know Big U was hit with RICO charges for extortion, allegedly. Extorting like sports stars. They allegedly say it was kidnapping involved. They say robbery involved, and unalivement of a young rapper involved, allegedly. So Big U, I'm gonna kind of take up for Big U, because when I was talking to the OG yesterday, I got it. I got it. He was giving me a lot of insight on some stuff, and I kind of knew it, but I'm like, and I'm not going to say it, but I'm gonna dance around it, and I'm gonna say what it is. Big U is definitely, I'm connecting Big U with Jay-Z because something's going on with this whole RICO thing. Something's going on with they want to bring down Jay as well. I'll talk about that in detail. But there's something up. So they bring in Big U. Fed's been watching him for a minute. We know this. I'm going to say something very controversial. Big U did not have anything to do with Nip's unalivement. And we'll talk about that more in detail. I know right now the whole thing is, they put it on him. They make him the bad guy. He's the fall guy. So when they snatch him up and now everybody's, talking about, Big U had something to do with Nip, blah, blah, blah. Nah, that wasn't the case. Because the thing that happened with old boy, the Belizean cat who did that to Nip, dude got drugged or derugged allegedly. He was on some of that Sherman that Sherm. I'll say it like that Sherm. A lot of cats will dip it in cigarettes and smoke it, and you think you're high, but your brain is just really hemorrhaging against your skull. So that's why you got people who think they can fly and they get all these hallucinations and stuff. Allegedly the unaliver Eric Shitty Cuz was on that. So it's deep. They even the whole thing with Loose Cannon saying that he got a call from Big U, and he said Nip, something happened to Nip, and then he called Nip and nothing happened. I don't even think that's true. Cats just be saying stuff just to be saying stuff. When you go to ninjas.com and you get the real deal, you get it. You're like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. So no, I don't think, I'm not saying it's fact, I don't think a lot of the cats that I talk to, the OGs who are from that area, they don't think you had anything to do with Nip's downfall. Now Nip was signed to Roc Nation, right? The management. So that's why I think something's going on with this whole thing with Big U and Jay-Z. They rounding them all up. Now I'm gonna tell you this though. That don't mean that Big U is gonna see the light of day anytime soon, allegedly, because the one cat, I'm not even saying his name. I think if you following the story, you heard about some dispensaries that were being robbed and stuff like that, and then there was this one cat. I'll just say it was a Hispanic cat who he'd been working with the feds, and he was up under Big U. And he'd been working with the feds because he got cracked for, he had pounds of something. And, he was supposed to go down for that. And they was like, well, let's do this. This is what the streets are saying, allegedly. So he got up under Big U. And the Big U only really looks out for, he allegedly was only looking out for people in the neighborhood, his folks or whatever, etc. Which I get it. That's commendable. But the whole thing with the grid program, and he was getting money that way, I think he can easily slide that and say that was whatever, but he's not going to be able to get out of the situation where the Hispanic dude who was up under him that got cracked some time ago was the one who was giving him money that the feds were giving to him for so-called extortion. It's crazy. Like I said, I'm not going to even go too deep, but it's crazy when you really get down to it. This whole story is just nuts. And I'll fill everyone else in later on down the line. Shout out to Spiderlog. I see Spiderlog be, most Easty, Black Box. He be dropping it every day. But I go to the OGs and just talk to them, and I've only done some Big U stuff, far and few between. And I just have to speak on it because it is a hot topic. But Big U did not have anything to do with the Nip stuff. think it's deeper than that. He's definitely going to possibly be going away for some time because the feds are able to tie that extortion money to that Hispanic cat. For everybody who know, if you know, you know. I'll just say it like that. I mean, and that's pretty much it, y'all. I just said, let me drop this real quick because the shift got Big U. They say he is allegedly tied to a massive RICO investigation involving the Rollin 60 Crips. So he was preaching community reform, but he was still embedded in the underworld. That's the contradiction. Jay-Z, you were talking about educating and doing what you're doing, and you got this thing with LIU, but then you're breaking their pockets. You know, a lot of these kids don't even got the game. They don't know what's up. They ain't come from money. It's kind of a cold game. Contradiction. So are these community leaders selling hope but delivering hustle? How is the system profiting from young black ambition only to leave them in debt or in danger? Now, is this the new school to prison pipeline dressed up in boardrooms and celebrity branding? That's all that I'm asking. Y'all put in the comments. Y'all like. Y'all share, subscribe. Those are the questions that I have, and that's why I'm saying what I am saying. But yeah, this is crazy. And I'm gonna say this: you're a grown ass man. Why are you all in the streets? Leave all that. The cold part about even Big U, the street stuff was really like for teenagers. After you got like a certain age, this is what Lonzo. Shout out to Lonzo. Lonzo will tell me, he never got with the gangs because, the gang stuff was like, teenage stuff. And I get it. I was there. I wasn't in the gang, but I hung out with some cats or whatever. And you do your teenage thing. But then he said the typical story would be you get a girlfriend, 17, 18, you get her pregnant. The father will pull you up and be like, look, you finna take care of this kid and bring you down to the factory and you got a job. And now you making money. You ain't even, maybe you didn't finish high school, but you're making enough money to actually take care of a family. That's how it was back day. So, kids will go from, being gang members. And then after the gang banging, the real life is coming and, they got to be family man. They got to take care of their little kid that's coming. Their father-in-law or soon-to-be father-in-law will grab them and say, "We bring your ass on over here, and you're gonna work at Firestone. You're gonna work for the old Navy Yard or something." That's just how it was. That was it. The gang stuff was always some temporary, like teenage stuff. Even when you talk about the gang, the reason why the gangs were brought about, because in LA you had the school hunters. Maybe I can't even say that word. I'm gonna have to bleep that out. But you had those gangs, and they were going around terrorizing black people, and that's why you had families, and then they became cliques and crews that would defend their family. And those S hunters would turn around and they would get jobs in law enforcement or firemen or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this was all teenager stuff. Now, gangbanging has become like a lifelong career. Shout out to my sister who's let me just be quiet. Because I know some people, they just said, I'm gonna take this gangbanging stuff to the grave. That's sad. Get a real life. I'm just saying, anybody, if you part of it, I'm not dogging you. If you're part of it, you're part of it. I get it. If your family, your friend, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, you see what's going on with all this RICO stuff. You gotta move properly. And yeah, that's how I've been. Shout out to everybody who from LA and they know what it is. But yeah, man, this school to prison pipeline. This is now scholarships to RICO. Tell me what you think. This is Wolfgang Amadeus. You're on the set, and we're out. Peace.
Wolfgang, where you at, man? Wolfgang. Shit.